Hey everybody, I'm Chris,
And I'm Adam.
and this is the Gamers Hall.
And today we're going to be talking about Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. But specifically, we're going to be talking about a specific subclass. And we want to talk about a few things that we find good about them, probably some things we find bad about it. And then we're going to talk about the roleplay value in those and what you can do in order to spice up the subclass a little bit, or just add extra things to a campaign that a DM can use to create maybe a driving force for the campaign, or add additional content. You know, give these characters flavor.
Maybe the specific area that you're going to, how's the subclass fit into this area that your players are about to adventure into.
Yeah. And we want to touch on a couple of ways that maybe this subclass can fit into different worlds. Different campaign settings, because some of these are pretty spot on what campaign setting they fit in.
Yeah.
Some of them are not.
So let's get into what's the good. Yeah, what's the good? All right, so you get these at third level. You get these psionic points, and as you level up, they'll increase from D6s to D8s, just like the Battlemaster.
Mm-hmm.
Except for instead of using them for maneuvers, you're going to be using them for psychic abilities.
Yeah.
And your psychic abilities are, you have a protective force field, you have the psionic strike, so you're doing extra damage. Mm-hmm. So you're reducing damage, you're doing extra damage, and then you have kind of a telekinetic movement. You can push people, you can pull people, you can push or pull objects,
lift them up.
Yep, or tiny objects, you can bring them to you. For instance, like keys on a wall if you were imprisoned, or
or even the classic Jedi pulling the lightsaber to him. Luke pulling the lightsaber out of the snow to his hand. I mean, which this subclass is
a lot of people say that this is the Jedi.
This is the Jedi,
and It's there, but not completely. We'll get into that. But so at 7th level, you're going to get a psionic powered leap, which
so now you
gain a fly speed equal to your walking speed until the end of your current turn.
So, which is pretty cool. I mean, you can just go over things very easy, and you just have to land when you're done. Technically,
there's like a big gap. It's kind of like
technically you don't even have to land when you're done. You just get it till the end, and then you just fall.
Yeah.
So actually, it's different from
other
fly abilities.
You could use the protective force field to probably. Can you use that protective force field?
It just reduces damage taken. Well,
when you or another creature takes damage.
Oh yeah. Actually, that's kind of cool. You can fly out there with your psi point, and then I guess you need to make it over a ravine or something, and you just say, well, my momentum's going to carry me the extra way on my next turn. And then I just have to reduce it with the kinetic force. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. That actually adds a little bit of extra to this class for me, because now that I know that there's, hey, you fall into a spike pit trap, or you just fall into like a hole, you can reduce some of that damage you take. That's kind of nice. Something a little out of combat.
Right, yeah.
Still technically kind of combat, but like not fully there.
It's definitely interesting.
The other thing is you get a telekinetic thrust. So the psionic strike that you get, if let's see, when you deal damage with your psychic strike, you can force them to do a strength saving throw. If they fail the strength saving throw, you can knock the target prone and knock them in any direction horizontally 10 feet.
Right.
So it's improving on an ability that you already have and just making it better. So that's really nice. I kind of like the direction of that. These are abilities you're going to be using. Well, here we're just going to make it a little bit better.
A little bit better. Yeah. So it promotes going farther in the class.
Definitely.
Guarded Mind, pretty good. I mean, resistance to
psychic,
which It's pretty good.
Yeah, but if you start your turn charmed or frightened, you can expend at 1 psychic energy die to remove the effect from yourself.
Which is actually pretty strong. Considering there's a lot of crowd control effects that will frighten or charm you. And that's how, as a DM, you would keep somebody off of a certain place, hold somebody back. This guy can just say, no, I'm good. I'll go ahead and come forward.
Yeah, and actually, this is actually a lot stronger than some people are giving it credit for. Like, because, some people are like, oh, yeah, monks can do that. No. Monks have to spend an action. Yeah. These guys, start of the turn, I just spend my point. No action required. I just spin that side eye. Done.
It's pretty cool. Bulwark of Force. So basically you're giving all your allies a shield. You're creating this little barrier around and giving creatures equal to your intelligence modifier protected by half cover. So half cover is actually pretty good. Because half cover affects melee, range, anything that would have to do with somebody or something being in the way.
Yeah.
Which is
15th level. That's pretty nice.
Pretty nice. Way up there.
If that fireball hits, the DC's reduced by 2.
Yeah.
For you and all your allies.
Yeah.
Because of the cover. So, and that's something I really. It's cool. A lot of people are like, whatever, just a +2. But I really like that. How is someone going to flavor that? How is someone going to say their bulwark defense works? Like, is it something that an enemy would quickly notice when they're going to attack, and the reason they missed is because you suddenly glance over and you guide the attack a certain way, or
is it there like a bubble of reality kind of there, and then somebody hits it and it's like going against this plastic bubble field, and then bounces back and knocks away that hit.
Yeah, or are you kind of like forcing them? So anytime someone's attacking, you're like, nope, like you're guiding the strikes to away from your allies.
So the last ability, this is where I feel you definitely come into your full psychic ability, which is good. It's the last one. But this is where you actually feel like you're supposed to feel in this class, which is you gain the ability to use telekinesis. You can just cast telekinesis requiring no spell components.
Is it once a day, or
you can make this? You can also. While you concentrate on your turn, you can cast it. You can make one attack with a melee weapon as a bonus action. And once you cast this, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest, unless you expend 1 psychic energy die. So you can grab somebody, yank them to you, and skewer them with your weapon.
Oh, that's
and then you
awesome.
can take and toss that body away, and then go grab somebody else and do it again. And it's only 1 psionic die to do it again later. That is incredibly strong for an 18th level ability.
Yeah.
Telekinesis is not underrated, but I feel like people don't use it as much as they could. And
it's because a lot of people optimize for damage, and this isn't optimized for damage.
No.
This is a battlefield control ability.
Yeah. It just picture all the things you can do just with the ability to go, all right, telekinesis, and you already have tons of psychic energy points by this time, equal to twice your proficiency bonus. So by this time you have 12. So you can do this. You can do this in 12 battles because telekinesis lasts for a minute. So 1 minute, I'm gonna take and
does it require concentration?
Yes. Okay. This requires concentration, but you still get an attack with it.
Yeah, but you're a fighter, so you're proficient with con saves. So,
awesome ability. Such a good capstone ability that actually makes the flavor of this subclass fully come into being right there.
When you cast telekinesis, do you choose a target right away, or can you switch targets off and on?
Yeah, you as long as you're concentrated, you can switch between them.
Oh man, that gives so much battle control where you could be pushing or pulling or even raising and holding an enemy, but then you could switch and like, hey, I'm going to take this boulder and put it in front of my friend here who's low on hit points, and now nobody can target him because I put an obstacle in their way. Because
you pick an object at first when you're doing it, and you use it, and then you don't have to drop concentration on the spell, but you could drop the target. You can just say, I'm going to let you go, let them fall, and move something else over.
Oh, that's nice.
And really, if you can't, the DM can just say, well, it's 18th level by then, who gives a crap?
Yeah.
Let's do something awesome. In combat, this subclass is going to shine so much. There's so many extra abilities that this fighter is going to get on top of what they already have from feats and other things. You're going to get such a great combat character.
Oh, yeah. Subclass. Yeah, the amount of battlefield control is amazing.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Yep.
Also, players out there, you guys should be scared. Because what happens when a DM comes out with a Mind Flayer that has 2 or 3 of these guys as their little minions? Like, oh man.
Modified thralls that are now Psi Warriors.
Oh, man.
That are fully under control of the Mind Flayer.
Yeah.
Or actually just Mind Flayer side knights. Alright, the bad. Major thing we have here that's bad about this class is outside of combat, there is not a whole lot here. This guy is here for combat. His tricks all in pretty much deal with combat. You're not going to waste your psychic points outside of combat to do anything most of the time. You're going to use them inside of it. Which I feel is to really play a subclass, you need a balance of combat and outside combat, because really 75% of the game is outside of combat. It has nothing to do with fighting. And in fact, if you're clever players, you typically try to avoid combat situations that you don't feel like would be worth it.
So, well, I mean, it depends on if that's their playstyle. Some people are very combat heavy, which, I mean, this class is going to shine at that point.
Yeah. You're trying to play the character that's going to deal with, you can go up and deal with people in a social environment of like, we're going to talk to the king, we're going to do this, or you get into a situation you can't beat this creature. Like, you're talking to this dragon, you guys are just 7th level, and this is an ancient red dragon.
Yeah,
you're not going to do anything. The dragon's not going to be amused by your parlor trick of pushing something around.
What's the... outside of combat, there's really not a whole lot. Okay, you can telekinetically move some stuff around. You've got the fly speed for 1 turn.
Right.
And then, maybe if somebody's charming you, you can turn that off. Yeah. So that's nice. And then if you're high enough level, you have the telekinesis that you could use that to get around some stuff.
Yeah, you can do some really cool things at that point. I'm gonna telekinesis a boulder underneath me, stand on top of the boulder, and hover. Super awesome.
Yeah, or telekinesis the boulder to block the people from getting into where we're at,
or just throw your friend up into the air. Doing a lot of cool things. One thing I feel like could have been kept from the UA, or at least modified, was I would like the telekinetic movement to have a mage hand. If it's just dealing with a tiny object, it never gets more than a tiny object, and you can't upcast it. You just can manipulate one object constantly. This is a telekinetic subclass that is built on the fact that this person starts becoming so proficient with their mind to move objects without touching them. You can't just have him pick up a little tiny thing and go, and then put it back repeatedly. Like this person who's trained his mind and his body can't just go, well, I would practice with just tiny objects all day long.
Well, I mean, you're a fighter. You're going to get a lot of feats, so you could pick up the feat that gets mage hand.
Yeah.
But
you have to you have to get into it. I feel like that's just a tiny little thing that could have just been added for just flavor.
Well, yeah, because the telekinetic movement, you have to spend a psi point in order to do any of this. Like, I get it, the large creatures, the large, small, medium creatures, or objects, totally get that. But I feel like tiny objects, they could have gave a free pass.
Yeah, just on tiny. objects 5 pounds or under. You could have just said 5 pounds or under does not require a psi point. It is such a minimal amount of weight that you are just strong enough to yank it to you. I mean, and then that would open up
or push it away.
Push it away. Just
maybe make it manipulate that key just to turn it.
And then Mage Hand is invisible, so you don't see it. And that's a little
Mage Hand is invisible if you have the feat or if you're the Arcane Trickster. Otherwise, it is spectral. You can see it.
Well, I'm saying, but for this, it could have just been... obviously, that's an Arcane Trickster thing, but for this, it's just a telekinetic force. It would fit in this subclass to be able to just pull and push, an object back and forth that's small.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, they could have just left all the wording the same, but they just said if it's a tiny object, then you don't have to spend a psi point and everything works just as it is. Yeah, I think that would have worked.
That would have been fine. Other than that, subclass is pretty good. So it's just you're not doing anything outside of combat, really.
Yeah, because
you're not having.
I could definitely see if I was playing this class, I would like to have been able to do that telekinetic movement. So I'd never touch people. I just here's your pouch of gold. I just float it to people.
Yeah, the guy who does germaphobe.
Yeah.
I learned how to move things with my mind because I don't want to touch things.
Or just playing cards. You just kind of float them out there. You never actually touch them. You just have them hovering, and it's okay, and then float them in and out.
There's a lot of potential with the ability to move things in an environment that...
But who wants to spend a psi point just to do that?
Yeah, when you know that, if I keep that psi point, it's going to do an extra D12 or D10 damage and knock the target prone, making my rogue friend jack him up really bad, or my barbarian friend get that extra hit so he doesn't have to go reckless.
Yeah, and also you don't get your psi points back on a short rest. You get them back on a long rest.
Right, so they're
very important. Yeah, so you can... At the start of each encounter, you can use a bonus action to get one back. So, do you want to spend this and then try and do that? I see a lot of people not doing that or not spending their psi points because they're waiting for they're saving them for battle.
Yeah,
and that's kind of the weakness of this subclass is you wouldn't use a lot of your psi points outside of combat. Or a lot of these abilities outside of combat because you'd want to use them, you'd be saving them for combat.
It's just so heavily focused in one direction. And that's the bad.
Alright, so let's get to the roleplay of this character.
Right, let's go ahead and get the obvious one out of the way. Jedi.
Yeah, I mean...
You could be a Jedi.
A lot of people say Jedi. I mean... You're in the earlier stages you're a Padawan, and in the late
you become apprentice at 7th level. Then
by 18th you're practically kind of like Yoda.
Yeah, you're a Jedi Master. Yeah. We love Star Wars. I love Star Wars. It's one of my favorite things. Just recently started watching the old movies with my kids. This class fits the combat style of Jedi. It does not fit the I'm going to mess with your mind, or even the Sith, where they're going to throw lightning, or you would have to add other subclasses to get that full Jedi or Sith feel.
I mean that's if you were going Sith, because the normal Jedi didn't throw around lightning and stuff, and with all the stuff they did minus the mind control. This kind of almost fits all of that.
It almost fits. Although, depending on how far you want to go into the lore, and depending on if you're a Grey Jedi, or a Guardian, or a Centurion, or a Sith Lord, or any of the other versions of Jedi, this one will fit that basic template and give you the feel you're looking for to get close to the Jedi. Just not quite there.
But let's talk about something different.
Yeah, let's go in.
Let's what's some other ways.
You had a good one.
Yeah, the Invisible Woman from the Fantastic Four creates force fields, has the flight.
Yep. Telekinetic thrust. She uses her ability to control air. Like with the psychic strike, she hits harder because she can use that. Aside from invisibility, which is easily fixed by potions or
A ring of invisibility.
Well, I mean, that's legendary, but
Okay.
still, you can get there.
Yeah, so
Scrolls and all this stuff, you could pull off Invisible Woman really well. Everything in this class is Invisible Woman.
yeah. Or Dust of Disappearance.
Dust of Disappearance, yeah.
Because that's cheaper and it lasts longer.
That's true.
Well, depending on what you roll.
Getting greater invisibility somehow.
Yeah.
But you could pull off Invisible Woman really well with this subclass, and it would be really fun.
Mm-hmm. You had a pretty good idea, too.
Well, you have Magneto. You can also you've changed a little bit of the flavor of this. You make sure when you're doing your abilities, you're affecting metals around you, or the magnetism.
You're changing the polarization and stopping the sword from hitting.
That's right. You do a lot of things, and plus the 10th level ability, hits perfectly on Magneto. You have resistance to psychic and can't be frightened or charmed. You've made your helmet now. Professor Xavier is not going to bother your mind anymore because you shut that off with your ability.
God, how funny would that be to describe that to someone? Though it's like this orc has this great axe and he's going to hit your character. It's like, oh, I'm going to change the polarizations of my armor, and that's why his attack gets reflected, not really reflected back. It just stops and
then pushes away.
Yeah,
it would be
that's kind of cool.
It would be a cool feel, and it changed the way that this is.
The psionic leap. He used his armor to kind of float himself around. That's easy right there.
Granted, it'll take a while before you get to full Magneto power because you really need the telekinesis. But once you get like boots of flying and some other random feats,
it wouldn't be hard.
It wouldn't be hard.
You could even make it a ranged character, just like Magneto was.
Yeah, because Magneto never punched anybody.
Yeah,
he doesn't need to. He just throws a car at somebody, and it's a whole lot better.
You just let's say like you carry a bag of like metal trinkets and just.
Yeah, it would be pretty cool. There are some other roleplay aspects to it. You're gonna have to dig to find. You're gonna have to deal with this class a little bit to really manipulate it a little bit to get those extra roleplay bits out of it. Because, like we said in the bad, it's very focused
on combat. Yes,
on combat. So, really finding a theme that can push your abilities into a different direction, give it a different feel, would make this subclass pretty fun to roleplay.
Yeah, and
a couple of feats that you pick up, just flavor feats. Since you've got all the combat ability, pick up some of those neat flavor feats that are not going to give you any combat ability. Get the one that gives you the mage hand. Get the one that gives you the, extra little abilities. If you want to be a Jedi, you could pick up one that gives you like shocking grass. You could be the Sith that shocks them.
Yeah, maybe you pick up the actor feat, and that is how you deceive people.
Yeah, exactly.
So like that. That's your mind tricks right there.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things you can do with this subclass that would be fun for roleplay. You just got to work a little harder at it.
Yeah, it's gonna require more from the player.
Yeah. So if you guys have any ideas, maybe there's another thing we didn't think of. I'm pretty sure there is. You could go ahead and leave that in the comments.
Yeah. Go ahead and also subscribe if you haven't already.
Hit that bell. That way when we post some more.
Yep. Otherwise, guys, keep having fun with your friends and keep rolling them Nat 8s.
Nat 8. Why? Turn it over to infinity?
No, I just like 8s.
Infinite power of...
Just like 8s. 8 plus 5 is 13. 8 and 5 are two favorite numbers.
Oh, okay.